Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Let's get started.
Sahanavavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryankaravavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Gita Dhyanam. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshini Bhagavati Ashtadashadhyayini Amba Tvamanusandadhami Bhagavad-gite Bhavadveshini. Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pullaravindayatapatra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Talya Purnaha Prajvalido Jnanamaya Pradipaha Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vaitrikapanaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Gītāmritaduhe Namaha. Sarvopanishado Gavo Dugdha Gopalanandanaha Pato Vatsasudhirvokta Dugdam Gītāmritam Mahat. Vasudevasutam Devam Kamsachanūramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Bhishma Drona Tata Jayadratha Gandhara Nilotpala Shalyagrahavati Kripena Vahani Karnena Velakula Ashwathama Vikarna Ghora Makara Duryodhana Vartini Sotirna Khalu Pandavairananati Kaivartaka Keshavaha Parasharyavachas Sarojamamalam Gītārtagantotkatam Nānākhyanaka Kesaram Harikata Sambhodhana Bodhitam Loke Sajjana Shatparairaharaha Pipiyamanam Muda Bhuyadharata Pankajam Kalimala Pradvamsina Shreyase Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayati Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam Yam Brahma Varunindra Rudra Marutaha Tunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedai Sangha Padakramupanishade Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavastita Tadkatina Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogino यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः.
Hari Om. So Arjuna expresses his adoration for Bhagwan Sri Krishna. And he says, I prostrate to you thousands of times. And then again, and again, and again. And then he seeks Bhagwan's forgiveness. And then adds on to say that while he is astonished, his heart is filled with delight. And at the same time, his mind is distressed with fear. Arjuna then pleads for mercy and asks Bhagwan to see only that other godly form, implying Bhagwan's previous form. Now, Bhagwan Sri Krishna, he understands Arjuna's predicament. Arjuna himself had asked to see the Vishvaroopa. And then he got much more than what he could ever imagine, handle. Arjuna could not handle what he saw. Vishvaroopa depicts everything, the good and the bad, the fathomable and the unfathomable. And Arjuna was delighted and at the same time frightened to his bones. See, Bhagwan is extremely compassionate. You know, he only shows us his beautiful and his pleasing form. But then how the human being behaves changes everything. In chapter 3, verses 14 and 15, Bhagwan had revealed the causal chain that establishes the cosmic order. He had said, Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyadana sambhavaha yagyad bhavati parjanyaha yagyak karma samudbhavaha karma brahmodbhavam vidhi brahmakshara samudbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yagye pratishthitham. So he had said that beings come from food. Food comes from rain. Rain comes from yagya or sacrifice. Yagya comes from karma or action. Karma comes from the Veda and Veda comes from Brahman. And he had said that even if one link in this chain is broken, the entire cosmos would not be there. The beings would not be there. All beings. And there are two critical components of this chain that hold this entire chain together. The first one is karma or action, which is also performance of duty. Other creatures are bound by their nature to perform their duty. They don't have much choice. But human being has a choice whether to perform duty or not. And the other one is yajna or sacrifice, the spirit of cooperative endeavor, to be able to help others before thinking of one's own benefit. Even here, most other creatures live in beautiful synchrony, helping each other. Naturally, that's their natural behavior. They're all driven by instinct. But the human being is driven by will, by choice. And this cosmic chain breaks only where the human being is involved. We human beings, by not following yajna or karma, which are two extremely critical links in this cosmic chain, take Bhagwan's prakriti towards an unpleasant state. Bhagwan wants to show his pleasant form only. We, by not following this rule, cosmic order, we take it towards an unpleasant state. And then Bhagwan, in his extreme compassion, he says that that unpleasant state is also my nature, even though it is we who are the cause for it. However, when it goes beyond a certain level, when the threshold is crossed, then Bhagwan, when he sees his own prakriti on the verge of destruction, being destroyed by the humans, then he assumes his fearful form, the form of destruction. And when that happens, humanity pleads for forgiveness, craves for his benevolence again. It's like this song, you know, in the Bollywood, which I always recollect when I go through these verses. Teri hi zameen, tera asman, tu bada meherban, tu bakshish kar, sabhi ka hai tu, sabhi tere, khuda mere, tu bakshish kar. This is the frightened human being. When things are going well, ये तो मेरी जमीन है, सब मेरा है, it's all mine. When things are not going well, you are the meherban. You do bakshish, you're pleading, craving for benevolence. And then sabhi ka hai tu, sabhi tere. The cosmic chain dawns on us at that moment. And that is what Arjuna is doing, what we saw in the last satsang, pleading for forgiveness. How beautifully Bhagavan depicts this aspect of beauty in creation that gives all of us great happiness, and then destruction that inculcates extreme fear. And Bhagavad Gita happened, more than 5,000 years ago, and according to some theory, even before that. And we still go through that vicious cycle again and again and again. When we are happy, we forget and do not bother. Sometimes we forget, sometimes even without forgetting, we do not bother. About the repercussions of our own actions, our own behavior, our own nature, our own attitude. And thereby, we take ourselves and Bhagavan's Prakriti, his creation, towards destruction. What is the solution then? The only solution, as well as the succor, the solace to this impossible yet usual occurrence, is devotion. Let us now see the beauty and the power of devotion. We start with verse 47.
Shri Bhagavan
Uvacha
Maya prasannena tavarjunidam
tavarjunidam
Rupam param darshitamatma
yogat
Tejomayam
Vishwamanantamadhyam
Yanme tvadanyena
nadrishtapurvam
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya prasannena tavarjunidam Rupam param darshitamatma yogat Tejomayam Vishwamanantamadhyam Yanme tvadanyena nadrishtapurvam.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. So converting now the poetry to prose, prasannena, graciously, maya, by me, idam, this, param, supreme, rupam, form, darshitam, has been shown, O Arjuna, tava, to you. And how has it been shown? Atma yogat, by my own yoga power. Yan, this form, me of mine, this form of mine, tejomayam, full of splendor, vishwam, all pervading, anantam, endless, infinite, adhyam, primeval, the cause, na, not, drishta, seen, anyena, by anyone else, by another, tava, other than yourself, purvam, before. So the blessed Lord said, graciously by me, O Arjuna, the supreme form has been shown to you by my own yoga power. The universal form of mine, this universal form of mine, full of radiance and splendor, all pervading, infinite, the very source, has not been seen by any other than yourself before. Pleased with Arjuna, not only did Bhagavan enable him to see his Vishvaroopa, he also gave Arjuna the capacity to bear the Vishvaroopa, comprehend the Vishvaroopa, understand the Vishvaroopa, and even talk to the Vishvaroopa. None other got this privilege. But Bhagavan will also say later that others can also, anyone can. In the last 2 verses, he will talk about it. So far, it is Arjuna who has described Bhagavan's Vishvaroopa in this entire chapter. Once Bhagavan showed his Vishvaroopa, it's Arjuna who's been describing it. And once in a while, we have seen Sanjaya relay what Arjuna has seen. In this verse, Bhagavan Sri Krishna himself describes his Vishvaroopa. And the words that he uses are Tejomayam, full of radiance, effulgence, splendor. Vishwam, all-pervading. Anantam, endless, infinite. Adhyam, primeval, the very source, the very cause. When we look into the mirror, we see ourselves. I look within and I can comprehend myself. I can sense my ego. Is it possible for a human being to look within or to look anywhere for that matter and comprehend this all-pervading form that is the solution to all universal maladies? Is that possible? And what is required for that? We will hear that from Bhagavan as he continues.
Na veda yajñādhyayanirna dhanaihi.
Na veda yajñādhyayanirna dhanaihi.
Na chakriyabhirna tapobhirugraihi.
Na chakriyabhirna tapobhirugraihi.
Evam rupa shakya aham nriloke.
Evam rupa shakya aham nriloke.
Drishtum tvadanjena kuru pravira.
Drishtum tvadanjena kuru pravira.
Na veda yajñādhyayanirna dhanaihi. Na chakriyabhirna tapobhirugraihi. Evam rupa shakya aham nriloke. Drishtum tvadanjena kuru pravira.
Kuru pravira. Bhagavan is addressing Arjuna as Kuru pravira, oh best among warriors of that time. Warriors of that time were the Kuru warriors. Best among the Kuru warriors. Na veda yajñādhyayane. Na veda yajñādhyayanahi. Not memorizing and chanting of the Vedas. Not by memorizing and chanting of the Vedas. Na vedaihi. Not by memorizing or chanting the Vedas. Na yajñaihi. Not by performing the sacrificial rites prescribed in the Vedas. Na adhyayaihi. Not by learning the meaning of the Vedas, through adhyaya. So not by memorizing and chanting, not by performing sacrificial rite, not by learning the meaning through adhyaya. Na dhanaihi. Dhanaihi means charity, not by charity. And na kriyabhir. Na kriyabhir, not through rituals. The kriyas, the various kriyas. Na tapobhir ugraihi. Tapo is severe penance. Tapaha is penance, austerities. Ugraihi is severe, intense austerities. So none of these ways, not by reading or memorizing or chanting or performing sacrificial rite or learning the meaning of the Vedas, not by charity, not through rituals, not by intense austerities. Evam rupa aham, this form of mine, shakya, is possible. Drashtum, to be seen. Dvadanyena, by anyone other than you. Nriloke, in the world of humans. All the meritorious acts that are mentioned in this verse are conducive to spiritual growth. So people must do these activities at some point in time or other in their life to be able to grow spiritually. However, in the practice of each of these activities, the ego prevails at some point or the other, at some level or the other, whatever the activity may be. Even a highly refined spiritual individual who is practicing these activities, still there is an ego play. And because of that, there is a limit for these activities. It is only when a devotee gives oneself completely to Bhagavan and depends only on his grace, completely decimating the ego, does that person fully realize God. And Bhagavan reassures, because you may immediately think all these are prescribed in the Vedas. I've been only told by my elders, and Bhagavan is now saying, it's not going to help you reach anywhere. What does that mean? So Bhagavan reassures Arjuna in the next verse.
Mate vyata macha vimudha bhavaha.
Mate vyatha macha vimudha bhavaha.
Drishtva rupam ghoramidrimamidam.
Drishtva rupam ghoramidrimamedam.
Vyapeta vipriti-mana punastvam.
Vyapeta viprita-mana punastvam.
Tadeva me rupamidam prapashya.
Tadeva me rupamidam prapashya.
Vyapeta vipriti-mana punastvam.
Vyapeta viprita-mana punastvam.
Tadeva me rupamidam prapashya.
Tadeva me rupamidam prapashya.
Mate vyata macha vimudha bhavaha. Drishtva rupam ghoramidrimamedam. Vyapeta viprita-mana punastvam. Tadeva me rupamidam prapashya.
Te, you, vyatha, fear, ma, not. Mate vyatha, te, you, fear not. And cha, ma, not. Vimudha bhavaha, be in this bewildered state. Vimudha, bewildered, bhavaha, state. And then we go to towards the second half of the second line. Idrin. Idrin as such. Drishtva, having seen. Ghoram, this ghoram rupam, this terrible form. Mamedam, of mine. Vyapeta bhi, with all fear dispelled. Pritamana, with the mind serene. Punastvam, again you. Punaha, again, tvam, you. Tadeva, that. Idam, other. Rupam, form. Me, mine. Prapashya, behold, see. So Arjuna, let there not be any fear or bewilderment in you as such, having seen this terrible form of mine, especially towards the end of the Vishvaroopa, right? A little before the end of the Vishvaroopa. With all fear dispelled, with the mind serene and calm, behold again this former form of mine. When the furious storm subsides in the ocean, the fishermen relax. The captain of the ship relaxes. He is able to go to the deck once again. When an avalanche subsides, the mountaineers become calm. When a father's anger changes into affection, the child is relieved. What does Arjuna experience with this assurance from Bhagavan? That Sanjaya will relate to us in the next verse.
Sanjaya uvacha.
Sanjaya uvacha.
Ityarjunam vasudevastatoktva.
Ityarjunam vasudevastatoktva.
Swakam rupam darshayamasa bhuyaha.
Swakam rupam darshayamasa bhuyaha.
Ashvasayamasa cha bhitamenam.
Ashvasayamasa cha bhitamenam.
Bhutva punah saumya vapur mahatma.
Bhutva punah saumya vapur mahatma.
Sanjaya Uvacha Ityarjunam Vasudevastatoktva Swakam Rupam Darshayamasa Bhuyaha Ashvasayamasa Cha Bhitamenam Bhutva Punah Saumya Vapur Mahatma.
Uktva, having spoken, tata, thus, in this manner, iti, thus, having spoken, tata, so, in iti, thus, Arjunam, to Arjuna, Vasudevaha, that is Vasudeva, Sri Krishna, Bhagavan, Bhuyaha, again, Darshaya Masa, showed, Swakam, his own, Rupam, form. This Sanjaya Vacha, Sanjaya is saying this. And Cha, we go to the last line, Mahatma, the greatest souled one, Bhutva, having become Saumya Vapur, of gentle form, Punaha, again, Ashvasaya Masa, consoled, Bhitamanam, he who was so terrified. Sanjaya said, having spoken to Arjuna, Vasudeva again showed his own form, and the great souled one, assuming his gentle form, consoled the one who was so frightened. It is said that Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, so hence Vasudeva, was born with 4 arms. When he came, Vasudeva was in the cell along with his wife, he was born and he had 4 arms. And immediately Vasudeva was completely frightened. He was pleased, of course, to see that, there is a divine child that is born to us. But at the same time, he was frightened, similar to Arjuna's state when he saw the Vishvaroopa. Why was he frightened? Immediate thought for Vasudeva, that Kamsa has sworn that he will kill every child of Devaki. So, with this 4 arms, it will be obvious to Kamsa that this is the boy who is going to kill me in future. So immediately Kamsa is going to get rid of the child. And Vasudeva pleads with Krishna that, oh son, please take a human form. And at the request of his father, Krishna assumes a normal human form till the time Kamsa is killed. And after that, once Kamsa is killed, every once in a while, Krishna, as suitable, would depict various forms of us. Here, Krishna is being addressed by Sanjaya as Mahatma, the greatest or greatest souled one. The soul of the avatara, Sri Krishna is an avatar. The soul of the avatara is what? Is Paraprakriti. The avatara is part of creation, descends onto the planet, is able to interact with the creation. The soul of the avatara is Paraprakriti. Thus, the avatara is the Mahatma, the greatest souled one. Now, Sanjaya is relaying this to Dhritarashtra. And Sanjaya is hoping once again that Dhritarashtra will understand. And he's actually making a gentle assertion to Dhritarashtra that with Bhagavan Sri Krishna, this Vishvaroopa Bhagavan Sri Krishna, who can take 4 arms, and Dhritarashtra knows that because in the Sabha in Hastinapura, Bhagavan showed his Virat form even to Duryodhana. When Duryodhana tried to arrest Sri Krishna, who was then the ambassador to Yudhishthira, to broker peace. But Duryodhana didn't understand. He said, Krishna, another Mayavi, arrest him, put him behind bars. And at that time, he kept everyone at bay by showing his Virat form. So Dhritarashtra also knows, he recollects when Sanjaya is now saying that the best path for Kauravas is to call off the war and establish righteousness. See, the king, before God comes and establishes righteousness, it is the king who should establish righteousness. If the king fails to establish righteousness, you need a bigger power. So this is one more chance for this king. However, Dhritarashtra either continues to be intellectually blind in addition to be physically blind, or he has resigned to the inevitable, resigned to fate. Arjuna, on the other hand, is now back to his original form. Not only Sri Krishna is back to his original form, Arjuna is now back to his original form. And he says in the next verse,
Arjuna Uvacha
Arjuna Uvacha
Drishtvedam Manusham Rupam
Drishtvedam Manusham Rupam
Tava Saumyam Janardana
Tava Saumyam Janardana
Idanimasmi Samvrittaha
Idanimasmi Samrittaha
Sacheta Prakritim Gataha.
Sacheta Prakritim Gataha.
Arjuna Uvacha Drishtvedam Manusham Rupam Tava Saumyam Janardana Idanimasmi Samvrittaha Sacheta Prakritim Gataha.
So not only is Sri Krishna back to his original form, Arjuna is also back to his original form, and the tune, the notes of the singing of the verse is also back to his original form. All this while, Vishvaroopa, you would have seen a different tune. You may have noticed that we have gone back to the earlier tune, right? So, Drishtva, having seen, idam, this, having seen this, tava, your, Saumyam, gentle, Rupam, form, Manusham, human, O Janardana. Asmi, I am, Idanim, now, at this moment, Samvrittaha, composed, Sachetaha, my intelligence, Gataha is restored, Prakritim, to its natural state. Arjuna said, having seen this, your gentle form, your gentle human form, O Janardana, I am now composed, my intelligence restored to its natural state. O Janardana, he addresses Krishna. Janardana is Jana Ardhyate iti Janardana. Ardhya means the worshipful one. One who is worshipful is Ardhya. Jana is people. One who is worshipped by people is Janardana. And another beautiful usage of Bhagwan's name. Janardana is one who always, the one who is worshipped, is the one who always bestows what his worshippers seek, what they ask for. Arjuna prayed for Bhagwan to assume his normal form. And Bhagwan gave his worshipper what he wanted. Janardana. Sanjaya had said that Bhagwan assumed his own form. Arjuna is Swakam Rupam. That's what Sanjaya had said. Here Arjuna is saying Manushyam Rupam. So Krishna's own form, Swakam Rupam, implies that form with which he was born, the four-armed form. Manushyam Rupam is the charioteer form, two-armed. So here we can interpret that Krishna, when he came back, when he gave up, when he discarded his Vishvaroopa, first briefly came up to his four-armed Bhagwan Vishnu form, which was also extremely pleasing, and then came to his Manushya form, from his Daivika form to his Manushya form, as Arjuna's Sarathi. Again, a beautiful poetic representation of the scene as it unfolded. So, what are the ways through which one cannot attain the vision of Bhagwan, and how does one not only get to comprehend that vision, that Vishvaroopa, but actually also get more than that? Because Bhagwan has said that by following all these practices that are prescribed, you cannot attain this vision. No one has attained. In the last 4 verses of this chapter, Bhagwan shows us how finite the various prescribed practices are. But they are definitely useful to spiritual growth, but they are finite, they are limited because of the involvement of the individual ego. And then Bhagwan unequivocally establishes that the only way to see, to comprehend and to attain Him is through devotion. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Sudurdarshamidam Rupam.
Sudurdarshamidam Rupam.
Drishtavanasi Yanmama.
Drishtavanasi Yanmama.
Deva Apyasya Rupasya.
Deva Apyasya Rupasya.
Nityam Darshana Kankshinaha.
Nityam Darshana Kankshinaha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Sudurdarshamidam Rupam. Drishtavanasi Yanmama. Deva Apyasya Rupasya. Nityam Darshana Kankshinaha.
Sudur Darsham Idam Rupam. Sudur, very hard. Darsham, to see. Idam, this Rupam form. Mama, mine. Yan, that. Drishta Vanasi. Drishta Vanasi, that you have seen. Apyasya, even the Devas, Devaha, the gods. Nityam, ever, always. Darshana Kankshinaha, longing to see. Rupasya, this form. The Blessed Lord said, very hard indeed it is to see this form of mine that you have seen. Even the gods are ever longing to see this form. Darshan means to see. Durdarsham, Darsham means to see. Durdarsham means hard to see. When I read this, I was reminded of Durdarshan. Durdarshan, Durdarshan in those days, when we were children, very hard to see. It will come, that and then it will go. And then again, after some time, it will come and then it will go. And then for 2 hours, you can't see it. Then little bit glimpse, it will come. If you are very lucky, you will see one full program. It used to be very hard to see. So Durdarshan is something that is very hard to see. Sudurdarsham, extremely hard to see. Nityam Darshana Kankshinaha, they ever desire to see. Nityam, always, ever, permanently. Darshana Kankshinaha, the desire is to see. This means what? This means that the desire of these devas, who are Nityam Darshana Kankshinaha, it is ever unfulfilled. Never fulfilled. It is not fulfilled. They always have the desire. When the desire is fulfilled, you may have it again, but that desire goes away. This is a desire that is never fulfilled. See, in the scale of evolution, devas or gods are superior to human beings. Still, their attainment of the Supreme, the attainment of Ishvara, is in no way higher than the human being or the aspirants among the human beings. It is possible for humans to achieve more than devas can achieve. After all, this is only a journey of the soul. Human beings become the devas, we have discussed, we have seen this in Bhagavad Gita earlier, right? You go to the heavens, enjoy, come back. You're born again. When Bhagavan teaches us about rebirth, right? So it's a journey of the soul. So human being is a state in which one can achieve the highest. One can achieve the supreme. That is why it is the best form that one can attain. Of course, devas also can achieve, but human being can supersede the devas if we'll see what that if is. Arjuna has now excelled even the devas. The gods, the denizens of heavens, those who have these superpowers. And Arjuna has got that what most people aspire for. Most gods also aspire for. It's like this, this Buckingham Palace, when you go on a tour in London, or Rashtrapati Bhavan for that matter, or this Pope's residence, the apostolic or something like that, these are frequented by tourists. But the tourist, what they get to see is a superficial tour of the palace. Very interesting, but superficial tour. A special invitee of the president, let's say Rashtrapati Bhavan, special invite. If you go there invited by the President of India, you will get a better tour. You will see places that an ordinary tourist will not get to see. But if you are a friend or family of the President, then you get to see places which are much more intimate, much more special, and in a more detailed manner. Something that others never get to see. So Arjuna here has got to see something that no one ever gets to see. See, I actually once was lucky to see some portions of Teen Murti Bhavan. What is the time? Maybe I can just tell you a story, right? I was in the army when I was the officer in charge of Rajiv Gandhi's funeral, by the way, okay? I mean, not a very happy occasion for the country at that time, but, you know, it was an experience for me. So there, you know, the drill was that all the visiting dignitaries, and in Rajiv Gandhi's case, you know, there were heads of state and all of those who had come, and his body was in, state, kept in honor in Teen Murti Bhavan. Teen Murti Bhavan was the residence of the first Prime Minister of India, right? So the drill was that everybody would come, President of India would arrive, and then the three service chiefs, there is a roundabout ahead of Teen Murti Bhavan. They'll go around it, and as they finish one round, the gun carriage will follow the three service chiefs. And I was not the officer in charge for the funeral, I was the officer in charge for the gun carriage, not the entire funeral. So what happened was, I went to, Sonia Gandhi was there, of course, not the politician we see today, completely clueless. She was sitting there, and I can promise you one thing, there was genuine love. Like we'll talk about bhakti and love. Rajiv Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi were genuine love couple, like Romeo and Juliet, you know, absolutely close to each other. It was very odd. I've seen it, witnessed it with my own eyes. So I had to take permission. I saluted her and said, ma'am, take your permission to take sir to the gun carriage. She said yes. As we were lifting, and I was also obviously one of the pallbearers, you know, she said, Captain, is the portrait there in the gun carriage? You know, there was Rajiv Gandhi's portrait which was kept because, you know, he was basically blown to smithereens. So, you know, that I said, no, there is no portrait in the gun carriage. She says, no, put the portrait. So I said, yes, ma'am. And we asked help from a couple of people, lifted the portrait that was there in the Teen Murti Bhavan. She said, no. She said, don't take this, get another portrait for the gun carriage. And where do I go and find another portrait of Rajiv Gandhi? Remember, President of India is standing outside, the President of India. He's arrived, he's or just about arriving, because as soon as he arrives, everything has to be ready. So just about arriving, he's not going to go back to Rashtrapati Bhavan. So then I ran inside and, you know, tried to locate and couldn't find anything. And people were stress and tension. Half the guys had vanished in the stress environment. I was, I don't know, maybe 24, 25 years old at that time, right? And then, you know, the people are shouting. One or two guys, there was a politician who I won't name, he was yelling at me. When madam says, get it, kind of a thing, right? And then suddenly I felt a hand on my shoulder and I looked there, and then I had to look up. It was Amitabh Bachchan. Okay, Amitabh Bachchan said, come officer. And, you know, I still hear the echo of his voice in my ears. And see, Amitabh Bachchan has access to places in Teen Murti Bhavan, being very close to the family at that time, right? So he took me to quarters which I didn't even know existed. And, you know, it was like a museum. And he says, officer, choose which portrait you want. And then we chose, and, you know, I just quickly chose because by then the President of India was outside. Quickly ran and put it, and then by the way, it was delayed, and there was a court of inquiry why it was delayed. But long story short, I got to see some portions of Teen Murti Bhavan which nobody sees. So Bhagavan is now saying, Arjuna, don't allow your astonishment. You know, when you go through all of this, there is astonishment, there is delight, there is fear. When you see things which are completely unexpected. I had the fear that I'm getting late. I had the astonishment of seeing something which is, you know, some memorablias there were absolutely wonderful to see. And there is some delight also, you know, all kinds of mixed emotions. Hey Arjuna, don't allow these emotions, especially of fear, to take away the significance of what you have witnessed. Sudur Darsham, which nobody else has seen before. This Vishvaroopa. And then Bhagavan continues.
Naham vedairna tapasa
Naham vedairna tapasa
nadanena nachajaya
nadanena na chajyaya
shakya evam vido drishtum
shakyam evam vido drashtum. Shakyam evam vido drashtum. Shakyam.
Yeah. Should I
We'll say
repeat?
again. Yeah.
Naham vedairna tapasa
Naham vedairna tapasa
nadanena nachijaya
nadanena na chejyaya
shakyam evam vido drishtum
shakyam evam vido drashtum.
drishtavanasi mam yatha
Drishtavanasi mam yatha
naham vedairna tapasa nadanena nachijaya shakyam evam vido drishtum drishtavanasi mam yatha.
Shakyam, not shakyam. Shakyam. Kya. So we can say it later again. Shakyam. Naham. Na, not. Vedaha, by the Vedas. Na, not. Tapasaha, by the tapas, by austerity. Na, not. Danena, dana, by charity. Na, not. Cha, and. Yagyaya, by sacrifice. By all of this, what? Shak means it is. Shakyam, it is possible. Shakyam, it is possible. Not by all of these is it possible. Aham, to see me. Drashtum, aham, me, drashtum. Aham drashtum, to see me. Or me to be seen by any of these means. Evam vidho, like this. To see me what? People, everyone can see me. Like this, evam vidho. Like what? Yatha, as. Drishtvanasi, as you have seen. Mam, me. Not by the Vedas, not by austerity, not by charity, not by sacrifice. Is it possible for me to be seen like you have seen me in this form? This Sudurdarsham form. Bhagavan repeats the same idea that he presented in verse 48. Exactly this, not by Vedas, not by tapas, not by dana, and so on, right? Why does he have to repeat this? What does Bhagavan want to convey to us by repeating this? Is he partial that he says, Arjuna, you saw, nobody else can see, nobody else has seen ever before? Is he partial to Arjuna? Just because Arjuna is his friend, his childhood buddy? Do only some people get this grace of the Lord, even though so many are following the practices and worshipping Bhagavan? In our own ways, everybody is worshipping. So is this grace only accorded to special people? That's not true at all, no. Remember, Bhagavan had earlier said in chapter 7, verse 21, Yo yo yam yam tanum bhaktaha Shraddhayarchitum michchati tasya tasya chalam shraddham tameva vidadhamyaham. So, yo yam, whoever, whatever. So, whoever the devotee, and what did he say at that time? See, whoever it may be, and whatever way that person may worship, whoever the devotee may be, whichever form they worship, they desire to invoke their faith, their devotion to these forms. I make it stronger. I make it more unflinching. So what we seek is what we get. After a point in time, none of these practices are useful for further spiritual growth. Not only further spiritual growth, ultimate peace and attainment of the supreme abode. Why? Because all these practices have a sense of ego attached. We saw that earlier. And Bhagavan continues.
Bhaktya tvananyaya shakya
Bhaktya tvananyaya shakya
ahamevam vidurjuna
ahamevam vidurjuna
jnatum drishtum cha tatvena
Jnatum drishtum cha tatvena
pravishtum cha parantapa
praveshtum cha parantapa
bhaktya tvananyaya shakya ahamevam vidurjuna jnatum drishtum cha tatvena pravishtum cha parantapa.
O Arjuna, Shakya, it is possible. So we should verify this, Sarika, whether I was right or wrong, okay? Is it Shakya or Shakya? So we should verify this. I think it is Shakya, but yeah, in that usage it is Shakya, but we should go back and verify this. So, O Arjuna, it is indeed possible, Shakya. Here it is Shakya. Tva, surely, indeed. Nanyaya, Ananyaya, single, through, how is it possible? Ananya Bhaktya, single pointed Bhaktya, devotion. By Ananya Bhaktya, by single pointed devotion. Aham, I, evam vidho, of this form, specifically of this form. Tatvena, in true essence. Jnatum, be known. Cha, and. Drashtum, be seen. Cha, and. Praveshtum, entered into. O Parantapa, O scorcher of enemies, of foes. O Arjuna, surely it is by single pointed devotion. It is possible that I of this form, in true essence, can be known, can be seen, and can be entered into, O scorcher of foes. Bhagavan says bhaktya, by devotion. What kind of devotion? Ananya, single pointed, unswavering, unwavering, where Ishvara is everything for the sadhaka. Remember one day I gave the example of, this ashram where we went in Haridwar. They say everything, whatever they do, they take. Maybe that's the reason people take Bhagavan's name, in due. We should all try and practice taking Bhagavan's name in our day-to-day life. When they serve roti, roti Ram, sabji Ram, dal Ram. So, unwavering, to ensure that the mind is focused on Bhagavan. That kind of devotion, Ananya Bhakti. And what is possible by Ananya Bhakti? Drashtum. Bhagavan in this form, this Vishvaroopa form can be seen. And Jnatum, Bhagavan in this form can be known. Tatvena, in true essence. In Ananya Bhakti, the devotee feels the presence of God and then gets the vision of God and then moves intimately with God and finally enters Bhagavan, enters into God, into Him. When a devotee gets to this level, none of the other things or other practices are needed. So our goal must be to get to this level. And Bhagavan will talk about that in the next verse or the following verse. Yeah, next verse, that's the last verse. We pursue different kinds of goals. Money is a goal, power is a goal, relationships is a goal, freedom from sorrow, freedom from stress, that's a goal. Social standing in front of others, esteem, that's a goal. Bhagavan said that whatever we pursue, whatever we seek as our goal, with true devotion, with Shraddha, that He makes our devotion stronger. Bhagavan does not promise result. He doesn't say whatever you pursue, you'll get it. He says that I make your devotion to what you pursue stronger. He doesn't promise the result. And this devotion is what, this unflinching, unwavering devotion is what makes us achieve what we pursue with devotion, whatever it may be. You will see this in any field. You want to be a sportsman, you pursue it with utmost devotion, unflinching devotion. You will be the best sportsman. You want to be a scientist, pursue it with utmost unflinching devotion. You want to read Bhagavad Gita, pursue it with utmost unflinching devotion. Whatever you pursue with utmost unflinching devotion, I make your devotion stronger. I make it better. And that improvement in devotion to what you are pursuing will help you attain whatever you are pursuing. See, we go to temples because we need that support. We need that scaffolding, like you see that scaffolding which is kept for support. Without a scaffolding, a structure can come down. Similarly, without the scaffolding of a temple, our devotion goes away. Even if we go to the temple, we come back and start pursuing our day-to-day. We go to the temple, some people are not focused in temple also, okay? Most people are focused in temple. They'll focus in the temple and then they'll come out and guess what? The money, the prestige, the whatever day-to-day samsaric pursuit goal is there. You come back and in fact, you go to the temple to pray to achieve this. So Bhagavan actually says you don't even have to go to the temple. You pursue it with unflinching devotion. You know, the devotion will increase, thereby you will get it. If we have him as our goal, then wherever we are, in whichever state we are, we can feel his presence. Okay, I can close my eyes. You know, all of us can if we wish to, if we get to that level, that degree of devotion. Close your eyes. You know, my mother loves to go to Tirumala and I tell her, close your eyes and you will see that God, you know, you will see with all his decorations and adorations and all the adornments. Not only that, you will feel that incense which you feel when you go inside that sanctum sanctorum. You can smell the, you know, the divine odor of that sanctum sanctorum. Without jargandi, by the way, in your own peaceful time. Nobody is there pushing you to get out of there. It is possible. It is true in the true essence. Tatvena. And then Bhagavan says, Praveshtum, enter into him. So what are the steps in realizing Bhagavan that he has just listed out here? Vision, knowledge, experiencing in true essence, Tatvena, and entering, Praveshtum. So first is Drashtum, vision. Drashtum happens through Ichha Bhakti, the desire with devotion. When you have the desire, you will go to the temple. When you have the desire, you will read a spiritual book. When you have the desire, you will say, you know, Bhagavan's name. The second is Jnatum, knowledge. Happens through Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. We have dealt with all of this in detail. Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. Right? And that also with bhakti. Swadhyaya bhakti, practicing with bhakti, practicing with devotion. Jnatum, knowledge. And then Tatvena cha pravashtum, Tatvena and pravashtum, that happens through Ananya bhakti. Ananya, Anya, other, Ananya, not any other. Nothing else, single pointed devotion. So the substratum for all of this, Drashtum, Jnatum, Tatvena, cha praveshtum, all of this, the substratum is devotion, is bhakti. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said, and I quote, can man see God with physical eyes? No. You can only see his murti with physical eyes. Can you see him with physical eyes? If Bhagavan takes avatara now and declares, and we all believe that yes, indeed, it is Bhagavan and not somebody impersonating him, then we can see his avatar. But can the physical eyes see Bhagavan? No. So continuing, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says, no. When bhakti is practiced, the sadhaka develops a superior sense organ, which has the power to see and hear super mundane things. And with that spiritual eye, God is beheld and the devotee commingled with him, unquote. Now, what is this Ananya Bhakti? How does it express itself in one's life? What are the things that signify that Ananya Bhakti is there, is present? That Bhagavan talks to us in the last verse of this chapter.
Matkarma krinmat paramaha
Matkarma krinmat paramaha
Madbhakta sangavarjitaha
Madbhakta sangavarjitaha
Nirvaira sarvabhutishu
Nirvaira sarvabhuteshu
Yasamameti Pandava
Yasamameti Pandava
Matkarma krinmat paramaha Madbhakta sangavarjitaha Nirvaira sarvabhutishu Yasamameti Pandava.
This verse is the essence of all sadhanas. Like my Guruji says, this is the essence of all sadhanas. See, we have sadhana for each chapter, and we will have for this chapter also. We already discussed in the previous satsang, right? This verse is the sadhana for the entire Bhagavad Gita. Sadhana is what? Practice, spiritual practice. All the spiritual practice that we should follow in our life is specified in this one verse. Sa yaha, one who, anyone, whoever it may be, man or woman, Muslim, Christian, Sikh, Buddhist, Hindu, anyone, black or white or brown, sa yaha, whoever, mat karma krita, does actions for me, keeping the Lord, Bhagavan, as the altar of devotion in every action. Roti Ram, Dal Ram, whatever action we may do. Remember, Ishvara Arpana Buddhi, Prasada Buddhi. That is Matkarma Krita. Doing whatever we do with devotion to the Bhagavan, receiving whatever result comes as a prasada from Bhagavan. Prasada, benevolence. Prasada also means equanimity. Taking it as his benevolence and taking it with it not getting affected. Oh, I didn't get what I want, I'm dejected. Oh, I got what I want, I'm elated. No, just with equanimity. So that is Prasada Buddhi. Ishvara Arpana Buddhi, arpit everything. Mat karma kritu, do actions for him only. Mat paramaha, with me as the supreme. The ultimate destination, the final goal. See, Bhagavan has said, whatever your destination, whatever your goal is, and you follow it with devotion, I will increase your devotion. I will make it unflinching, and because of which you will reach it. Make him the goal. Mad bhaktaha, devoted to me, with love for me. Like the love of the gopis, or like my mother said last time, Andal. A heart and the mind that is fully devoted, completely in love with him, does not have space for attachment to anything else. And because of that, Sangavarjita. Sangavarjitaha, free form, devoid of any attachment. Why does one get attached? One gets attached because of the pleasure that one gets from the result. Something nice happens, I'm happy, so there is attachment. Once we do actions for Bhagavan and have him as the supreme goal and are devoted to him, then Bhagavan fills the heart. And when he fills the heart, where is pleasure anywhere else? Because pleasure is within you. The deep happiness. Remember, we started satsang with, why are we doing all this? To become happy. Why happy? What kind of happy? Deep happiness that touches our core and happiness that lasts forever. Everyone will want that kind of happiness. Anything that doesn't touch your core and anything that doesn't last long is joy, is pleasure. That's not called happiness. So that genuine happiness, that deep happiness, when you are doing actions for Bhagavan, when you are devoted to Bhagavan, when you're, when you take him as the supreme goal, and then when you're devoted to him, all of this happiness is there, that deep, everlasting happiness. Unveiling the divinity within. And then Bhagavan says, Nirvairaha. Nirvairaha, without any enmity, absence of hatred, absence of the sense of causing harm to anything else. To what? Sarva Bhuteshu, to all creatures, to anything. Why? Because Bhagavan is there in those creatures also. Do you want to cause harm to this Bhagavan that you do all actions for, that you take as your supreme goal, that you, have bhakti towards, devotion and love towards? You don't want, and that Bhagavan is there in everything, in everywhere. So, Nirvairaha Sarva Bhuteshu, without any enmity, without any feeling of causing harm to all creatures. Sa Yaha, one who has this nature, abides by this sadhana, Mameti, goes to me, comes to me, attains me, O Pandava, O son of Pandu. With this, we come to end of this chapter. Om Tat Saditi.
Om Tat Saditi.
Om Tat Saditi.
Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu.
Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu.
Upanishadsu. Brahma Vidyayam. Yoga Shastri. Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade. Vishvaroopa Darshana Yogo Nama. Ekadashodhyayaha.
So we will first do the sadhana, then we will, we may not repeat the verses today because it's already almost 5:10. So learnings and practice for all of us, right? Which is what, for every chapter we have some verse that we have picked, which we say is our sadhana for that chapter. Chapter 1, watch for shoka and moha, remove them. Arjuna, in chapter 2 it comes, but it is related to this sadhana. Karpanya dosho pahata swabhava, prichamitvam dharma sammuda cheta, yachre yashyan nishchitam bruhitanme, shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. Understand that you have shoka and moha and seek help to remove. Chapter 2, samatvam yoga uchyate, maintain equipoise in extremities. Chapter 3, samachara, perform your actions with utmost devotion, dedication and perfection. Chapter 4, karmanya paschet, not being the doer while doing, by seeing inaction in action. Practice this. Chapter 5, padma patram ivam bhasa, just like a lotus petal is untouched by water that is on top of it, be untouched by worldly experiences while being in contact with the same worldly experiences. Chapter 6, Mam Pashyati Sarvatra Sarvam cha mai pashyati, sees me everywhere and sees everything in me. Practice this when in meditation. Chapter 7, we had two sadhanas. Natvaham teshu te mai. Indeed, I am not in them, they are in me. Let's maintain awareness of this, the pure consciousness that is untouched in the midst of all the varied thoughts. Indeed, I am not in them, they are in me. Mai sarvamidam prottam sutre maniganaiva. All the variety is strung in me, just like gems on a string, on the necklace. Chapter 8, Sarveshu Kaleshu Mamanusmara Yudhyacha. Sarveshu Kaleshu, at all moments, at all times, every moment of your life, Mamanusmara, remember me, Yudhyacha, perform your. This is what Bhagavan just said also again. Chapter 9, Yat Karoshi Tat Kurushva Madarpanam. Whatever you do, that you do as an offering to me. Because when you offer whatever you do to me, your whatever you do will be pure. Because you wouldn't want to offer anything that is not pure to me. Chapter 10, Yadyat Vibhuti Mat Sattvam Mama Tejo Shasham Bhavam. whatever glorious experiences in this manifestation, they are all part of my splendor. And chapter 11, he said, Nimittam, Nimitta Matram Bhava. Be an instrument in his hands. Take up the role of being an instrument to carry out his grand plan. And for the entire Bhagavad Gita, Mat Karma Krita does actions for me. Mat Paramaha, with me as the supreme goal. Mat Bhaktaha, devoted to me, with love for me. Sanghavarjita, free from any attachment. Nirvairaha Sarva Bhuteshu, without any enmity towards any other being, towards all creatures. So these are the sadhana for us to follow. So we'll conclude with invocation.
Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
Hari Om Bhagavad Gita Arti.
Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita Maya Jaya Bhagavad Gita Harihi Kamala Viharini Harihi Kamala Viharini Sundara Supaniti. Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita Karma Sumarma Prakashini Kama Sakti Hara Maya Kama Sakti Hara Tattva Jnana Vikashini Tattva Jnana Vikashini Vidya Brahma Para. Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita Nishala Bhakti Vilayini Nirmala Malahari Maya Nirmala Malahari Sharana Rahasya Pradayini Sharana Rahasya Pradayini Sabvidhi Sukhakari. Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita Ragadvesha Darini Karini Moda Sada Maya Karini Moda Sada Bhava Bhayaharini Tarini Bhava Bhayaharini Tarini Paramananda. Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita Asura Bhava Vinashini Nashini Tamarajani Maya Nashini Tamarajani Devi Sadguna Daini Devi Sadguna Daini Hari Rasika Sajini. Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita Samata Tyaga Sikhavani Hari Mukh Ki Vani Paya Hari Mukh Ki Vani Sakal Shastra Ki Swamini Sakal Shastra Ki Swamini Shrutiyo Ki Rani. Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita Daya Sudha Varasavini Matu Kripa Kije Maya Matu Kripa Kije Hari Pada Dan Pri Hari Pada Prem Dan Kar Hari Pada Prem Dan Kar Apno Kar Lije. Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita, Maya Jaya Bhagavad Gita, Hariya Kamala Viharini, Hariya Kamala Viharini, Sundar Supanite. Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita, Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita. Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita.
Hari Om. Thank you. So with this, we come to end of chapter 11. Any thoughts, comments, or questions? Nothing at all. So next week we'll start with Bhakti Yoga. Bhagavan has given a introduction to devotion, to Bhakti, and the power of devotion. With this kind of Bhakti, we can indeed see the Vishvaroopa Bhagavan, and not just see, we can enter him also with this kind of Bhakti. Know him, see him, know him, enter him. So we will start with chapter 12, Bhakti Yoga, next weekend. Any thoughts, comments? Okay, if nothing else, then we say Hari Om, and we'll see next week. Thank you all. Hari Om.